Hey, what's going on, peeps? Listen, I'm going to drop a message. It's a little tough, so stay with me. I hope I can pull this off. But I want to talk about the concept of relativity in sales and the impact of not recognizing relativity in your sales process could cost you dollars, could cost you sales, and more importantly, for those of you who gap sell, it's going to make it almost impossible to be a gap seller. And here's the deal. The other day I was talking to a friend and he said, look, this is expensive. And I was like, oh, okay, I feel you. And then I asked him how much it was, and it wasn't expensive from my perspective. From his, it was super expensive. And then I was reminded of that again today when I was talking to someone and they said, wow, that's a lot. And not in the dollar signs, just a lot in quantity size. And I go, what do you mean that's a lot? And they go, that's a lot. And I said, well, what's a lot? And they gave me a number and I was like, oh, I didn't think that was that many. And so this happens often. That is another one, right? Like my daughter is a mogul skier, right? And people say she's really good or she's really fast. Well, relatively speaking, for an 8-year-old, she's really fast. But in the big picture, and she's actually doing a comp this weekend against 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds, she's not going to be fast at all, right? So it's the relativity of one's perspective, right, that drives us. And we need to understand this. So how does this play into gap selling? When you're talking to a buyer and they say, look, we need to grow faster, or they say something like, look, we need to accelerate sales, or we need fewer errors, or we need more customers, or we need to be more efficient, or we need to be less vulnerable, or whatever time they say we want more, less, whatever, we need to quantify that. We can't just accept that at face value. We need to understand and ask them, can you please define more customers? Can you please define less errors? Can you please define faster development times? Can you please define slower processes? Can you please define what you mean by faster, slower, better, stronger, weaker, whatever the case may be? Because if we don't understand their perspective from their relative standpoint, we may not be on the same page. And for gap sellers, it's impossible to calculate the gap if you don't understand their relative position based on where they are today and where they want to go tomorrow. And I call those open-ended answers. I've talked about this in the past. When a customer gives you an answer to one of your questions, I want it to be faster, or I need it to be slower, I need to be more efficient, or I need to be provide less errors, or whatever the case may be, that's an open-ended answer. They didn't actually answer the question. You need to close it with a definitive, measurable, or identifiable understanding of what they're saying. So it can be quantified or at least understood and agreed on, so it can be comparative. You can say, okay, we're here today, we want to be here tomorrow. All right, guys? So listen, relativity plays a huge role in sales. And you need to understand that relativity based on your perspective, their perspective, your buyer's perspective, and in comparison to other buyers. You can have one buyer or prospect say something is too slow, and you have another one who thinks it's too fast. And so if you're operating from one versus the other, you could lose the sale by not understanding exactly what's at the core, what's exactly at the context of the discussion. All right, folks? So listen, don't lose sight of relativity and context when you're doing your discovery and you're working through the process of understanding where your customers are, where your buyers are, and what they're trying to accomplish. And for gap sellers, it's critical. You have to have it or you can't identify the gap. All right, folks, I hope this helped. I got it through because it was a tough one. I wasn't sure how to sort of make this work, but I think I did. Let's get some good conversation in here. Leave some comments. Tell me what you think. Share with me your experiences and your stories. How do you get context? How do you measure the relativity? And how do you avoid getting open-ended answers? All right, folks, you know what I'm going to say. Until next time, peace. I'm out.